Welcome back to the Contact Onsite podcast. This podcast is dedicated to the innovators and the pioneers shaping the future of the construction industry.
What are the pain points they are trying to solve? What's the potential for value and ROI, right? It's not just about having a cool technology. It's more about what's the value you are bringing to your customers.
So let's get rid of the hype of what everyone's talking about AI. How instrumental or how disruptive is this actually for the industry from your perspective?
They are saying, oh, this is gonna disrupt the industry, and I wanna be right there. And even if these solutions today are only at 80 or 90%, I'm gonna be working with these solutions, and I'm gonna be part of the first customers because I want to see this succeed.
Hey, if you're a regular listener or just as passionate about construction technology as I am, take a moment and hit that subscribe button. It's the best way to support us. It lets a platform know that our content matters, and growing the show keeps us motivated to bring our very best to every single episode. Thanks for being here. Enjoy the episode.
Today, I'm pleased to host Antonia Soler. Antonia is the head of Hilti Ventures, the Hilti Group's corporate venture capital arm. We'll start with a short introduction to the Hilti Group. The Hilti Group was founded in 1941 by two brothers and is today known as one of the most iconic companies with 34,000 workers in over 120 countries. Not many people know this, but Hilti also invests approximately 7% of their sales, or in other terms, around $500 million a year into research and development. Besides leading Hilti's startup investments, Antonia heads the marketing for Fieldwire, an exciting startup digitizing job sites, and she is also the co-founder of WCT, a global community dedicated to elevating women in construction technology. Antonia is a sought-after speaker, advisor, and has been recognized as one of the top 50 mavericks in construction technology. Antonia, welcome to the podcast.
Please introduce yourself and tell us about Hilti Ventures and your position there.
Thanks for having me here. Antonia Soler. I'm VP of Marketing at Fieldwire and head of Hilti Venture. I'm originally from Barcelona, and I've been 12 years with Hilti in different roles, both in Europe, in the US. My background is in engineering. I have had roles in product management, sales management, and for the last 4 years, I've been leading Hilti Venture and all our investments into startups and collaborations with the startups in construction technology. And most recently now, I have also taken a role at Fieldwire, one of the companies that we had invested back in 2017 and acquired in 2021.
Okay, fascinating. So you've been also on the marketing sales side, deep in the venture and like big organization space, and now you're also starting to work, right? Kind of like overseeing pretty much a startup, right? That's Fieldwire.
On the marketing side.
On the marketing side, but that's a lot of hats to wear. That's right.
And very much working with the rest of the management team on everything around construction software at Hilti, Fieldwire, and the different parts of the business. Absolutely.
Okay. Can you share a little bit more information about Hilti in general and Hilti Ventures?
Yeah. So Hilti had traditionally been hardware company for the construction industry, very well known for their anchors and the tools that provide to the construction industry. Also, Hilti as a company has also been very well known by innovation and quality, right? It's always the two things that come top of mind when you ask someone about Hilti. So already over the last 20 years, Hilti has gotten into different new parts of the business, keep innovating themselves, and has gotten in different parts of the business around services and software. And so as part of that innovation journey at Hilti, one of the initiatives that started in 2017 was Hilti Venture, where we said innovation will not only come from the inside, right? We also want to be working with all these amazing startups, all these amazing entrepreneurs that are bringing innovation to the industry. We want to continue being very much a value add for our customers. We want to be their best partner. And so we see that together with the startup ecosystem, we can do a lot to contribute to the industry and make construction better.
Okay, that's really interesting. So you're saying this is happening around 2017, where Hilti's been in an innovative company over the years, and now suddenly there's a big interest to do open innovation, start attracting companies from outside. What shifted at 2017 that got you guys to do that?
We have always, brought a lot of expertise into the company through history. There has also been some of those instances, but I think really what happened in 2017 is that construction tech started becoming a thing, right? When you look into venture capital and when you look into innovation, startups, there has been certain verticals that have had venture investment already for a long time. But construction tech really started around 2015, 2016, with some first angel investors. And then I think it was just 2017 where there were really the two very much construction tech funds being funded, right? Brick and Mortar and Building Ventures are the two first funds that really decided to focus on construction technology. And construction tech became a term, and suddenly it becomes a vertical in the venture space, and there is a growing number of startups, right? Even when I look back into when we started in 2017, 2018, all the way to now, probably the number of startups has multiplied by 10. The amount of investment has definitely multiplied by 10. So we at Hilti, we saw that trend. And then definitely we wanted to be part of it and work on it and also be bringing that value together with the startups to the industry and to our customers.
Okay, fascinating. I gotta ask another question, which is, what you've been in this thing 2017 till now? What's the biggest changes you've seen? What's going on? Like you said, there's a growth, there's a multiplier of 10 in terms of the amount of money coming in, amount of startups. What are you seeing as the big trends that are shifting?
So definitely I see, I start saying that there were the two first venture funds that were set up investing in construction technology. Since then, there has been a few more that have decided to focus on construction tech, and all of them are more in the earlier stages. So more from the pre-seed to the Series A. But then also we have seen a lot of the more generalist funds that Series A, Series B, Series C also start coming into and making investments into construction technology. That really shows that trajectory that you need, right? Because you need investment across all different stages. We have also started seeing more exits and more companies that are also now getting very high valuations with all the different AI trends, right? So I would definitely see a lot of change in there. And I think that's also an important piece to consider. What are the exits and what are the valuations that these companies are getting?
Okay, really interesting. So let's dive in a little bit into Hilti Ventures. What is the fund's investment strategy? What companies do you want to attract? And what investment stages are relevant to you?
Yeah, so we are very much an industry focused in construction technology fund, and we are interested overall in construction technology, but mainly software and robotics, and also more on the construction phase of the building, right? When I look at the different solutions, we look at what it's before and after also that phase, but construction phase is where I spend most of my time. And we are stage agnostic, so we can invest anywhere from pre-seed to Series C. And we are always thinking on what are contractors using, right? What are general contractors and trade contractors using? And those are the companies that we are targeting to invest.
So you guys, in terms of Hilti Ventures, the outlook is towards the clients. it's towards the contractors, what they're using, and kind of more of a focus on software and robotics during the construction phase. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. It's very much about the construction industry and what it's being delivered to the construction industry.
Okay, so that's really interesting. A lot of venture arms are focused on kind of the company's needs, and here you guys are looking outwards towards your clients' needs. What would you say, from that perspective, what are the biggest challenges the construction industry is facing, and how is Hilti Ventures and maybe the technology that you are seeing helping solve those problems?
I mean, the first one that comes to mind, and that probably many of my colleagues would say, is labor shortage. We definitely have an increasing need to attract young talent to the industry, and an increasing need to in order to be able to deliver the projects that contractors are winning, right? So that's one. And with that also comes collaboration in the field among the different construction teams. And different construction teams may mean from the same company, but also from different companies, right? Like normally on the job site, you have team members from the different trade contractors, the general contractor, and how they are all interacting in the field, sharing information, checking information, right? Like I think that there are also still a lot of data silos, right? Like who is having what information and how information gets updated. And so I'm seeing a lot of different tools, right, that are targeting that collaboration in the field among construction teams, such as Fieldwire or Outbuild, more also on the scheduling side and look ahead. Also more on the AI side, right? There are other companies looking at how to make more the information accessible by all the different construction teams. And then also when I think about labor shortage, of course, like robotics comes top of mind. I'm seeing a lot of now the robotic solutions that may be targeting very specific applications. And, like there is Canvas on the interior finishing side, there is robotics, when certain jobs that are happening on the edge of the building, also layout applications, right? Rugged robotics, dusty robotics, SIP robotics. So many different interesting robotic solutions targeting specific applications, and most importantly, many times for applications and use cases that are safety relevant, that may be very repetitive, and also where avoiding errors can have a huge impact on the project.
Okay, so you're looking at these companies as something, I mean, the robotics is very kind of intuitive almost for me, given Hilti's portfolio in terms of machinery and equipment for the industry. Is this, I mean, the venture arm is kind of outwards looking, but is this also affecting the parent company? Is Hilti looking at it and saying, you know what, really, the industry is going this way, we're seeing this type of technology? Do they collaborate with the technology you're helping bring in, or is this really kind of just outwards?
So when we are looking at all these different companies, right, we are also investing, and we also very much look to be an active partner for our portfolio companies, right? And I want to describe more what an active partner means. We understand that the startup will run independently. And there is a CEO of the startup who is in the lead, and there is a board, and they are making the decisions that are best for the startup. Where we want to be an active partner, it's that we want to be there when we want to give them access to our expert network, right? Like we have a huge expert network in different parts of the business, in the more technical side, on the business side, sales, exited founders, that we want to work with them. And we also want the startup founders and CEOs to meet with our executive team, right? So when I'm working with all these different startups, we always also have part of our executive team that is visiting us in the Bay Area once a year. And then that's a great opportunity for our executive team to meet these startup founders where we may have invested, where we may be planning to invest, and also get that exchange going, right? And what each of us is working on and more potentials for collaboration and working together.
Okay, very interesting. And so construction technology is known to be a really difficult venture space. What inspired Hilti to invest and to work with startups?
Yeah, so Hilti is committed to be the best partners to its customers, and we have a long history of innovation, right? So we invest yearly about 6 to 7% of our revenue in research and development. And so as part of our innovation strategy, we decided to invest and collaborate with the startups to make construction better together and deliver more value to our customers and to the industry as a whole, right? Like we saw that there was so much innovation coming up from all these different parts, right? Back in 2017, it was mainly in the Bay Area, but like today is still, right? The Bay Area is one of the main hubs, but there are also many other locations where we are finding great innovation. So actually, one of the examples, it was our first investment in 2017 into Fieldwire that then was later acquired in 2021 for 300 million. And I think that shows a great example on how, on what we did and why we did it, right? So we started with initially with an investment, and that allowed for a lot more interaction between Hilti and Hilti's executives with Fieldwire executive team. So really there was an opportunity to understand both cultures, to understand where the two companies could work together, to understand how they could benefit from each other. What really led them in 2021 to execute this acquisition, and to even more than that, a very successful integration where the company has continued growing at rapid speed, continue the growth trajectory that they had started, even post-acquisition, right? And even 3 years post-acquisition.
So it almost sounds like you're describing Hilti as kind of a big startup. You're taking 6 to 8% of your revenue and reinvesting it into R&D, right? It's really impressive. It's almost like you're taking startups and teaching about your culture and kind of an opportunity to learn from them, and you're learning from the startups. And I was going to ask, like, what's the big difference? What are the biggest benefits that startups can learn from kind of interacting with your teams, and what's the big benefit for them there?
Absolutely. So we are a 30,000 people company, right? So we have experts in certain parts of the business. Some of them are very much technical experts where we get interaction with, they get to interact with some of our robotics investments, for example, to the point where also our portfolio companies can test and try even products that are also in testing for us, right? And we are having that exchange. But then also on the business side, right? Like there is all the access. We have sales teams. We have a direct sales team. So we also can get some of our sales executives, some of the founders that have exited to us, right? Also get them connected to the startups that we work with, where they can also exchange and learn from the past, right? Or from what they are doing in that moment, right? Like it's either I can think about the startup potentially say, I'm thinking about how I build my go-to-market. Oh, let me talk you to one of your sales leaders and exchange with them and hear what is working, what is not working, what are some watch outs, what are some mistakes done that we should avoid, right? So that's an example. Or potentially some of the startups that we have invested, also we have connected them, or even startups that we are evaluating, right? To Yves and Javed from Fieldwire, where they also can get to exchange around like their journey building Fieldwire. So there are all these different areas of expertise that we have built over the years, also considering that we have parts of the business that have been already like there for a long time, and some other parts of the business that have been growing recently, right? That today they already are quite big, but also like have experienced this growth recently. So there is a lot of potential to share and to learn from our past experiences that we can give to these entrepreneurs.
Okay, fascinating. So there's a big element here that is around kind of marketing and the sales part and the business end, where you're saying we already have so much experience building innovative products and selling it and getting them in front of customers. This is how this is a major way you could benefit. So we know that the construction tech space is a very difficult space to be in, primarily in terms of growth. What do you see, in from your experience, and right now also in the marketing, right, capacity? How do you look at the industry? What's the biggest challenge for growth for startups, and what should they be doing better in terms of marketing and sales?
So a few. One is you need to know the industry very well, and you really need to understand the customer, the pain points, the needs. So actually, when I'm evaluating what a startup investment and I'm looking at the team, I really like when I see a team where there might be someone coming more from the technology side and someone coming more from the construction industry, because I think that's a great mix. You need to have, I think that having that experience from having been on a job site, it can really make a difference when you are building the product, right? Like you need to know who to go talk to, who to ask questions, the way to ask the questions, and always think about how you are involving your customers. I think it's also very important when you start developing the product. Do you have also few customers as development partners, or how many customers are you busy to really gather what are the pain points, and how many customers are you staying in contact to continue developing continue developing the product and gathering feedback. So I would say that's one. And then another one would be, you need to get, when you think about your customer and you are trying to sell, right? Like you need to get buy-in at different levels. And that means from those using the product on the day-to-day, and for them, it's more about how is your product making their life easier? Why would they use your product? To then also the C-suite level who expect to see the ROI of their investment. And also, how are you helping the C-suite understand what's the value of your product for your teams? And you always need to be thinking about how you are connecting the dots there and bringing value to all those different stakeholders.
I love this because it really does speak a lot of Hilti in terms of, Hilti's been building products for the field workers and like many times the machinery, right? And so there's an understanding between the product, the people on the field, and the executives having an understanding how it gives them, right, that return on investment. So it sounds like the strategy is so in tune, kind of, with Hilti's also positioning and experience and innovative culture. Okay, what is the most important criteria you look for prior to investing or working with a tech company?
Absolutely. So when we assess the investments, we look at two things. We are still a strategic investor, so we look at a strategic fit and we look at investability. And I always say that I put two different set of glasses, right? As when I look at this strategic fit, it's more about like long-term vision. How does it strategically make sense for Hilti to make that investment? And of course, we know that at the earliest stages, things may change a lot. But do we have a hypothesis around where we can collaborate, or do we have a hypothesis on why strategically that makes sense? That's one. But then I put my venture glasses on, and then I look more at investability. And here we are really more doing the assessment that a traditional VC would do, right? I'm going to be looking at the team. So, okay, what's their vision? What's their experience? Is it easy to work with them, right? Like, do I see that culturally, do they fit the way we work at Hilti, and that we can have a great collaboration ahead? Then I will look at the use case. Okay, what are the pain points they are trying to solve? What's the potential for value and ROI, right? It's not just about having a cool technology. It's more about what's the value you are bringing to your customers. And then do you have some early customer attraction? And you can show that in many ways, right? Like, is it about early revenue? Is it about pilots? development partners, right? Like it will depend on being software or robotics. It will depend on your stage, but what can you show that already there is some customer traction and interest from customers?
Okay.
And then there are a lot more metrics, right? Like the more like you go into seed Series A, the more metrics we can start having there that will help us assess, and the more things we will be looking at.
Okay. And so we'll dive into the next question. So we know that the construction industry is slow to adopt technology. What are the main barriers that startup face, and any advice to them on how to overcome them?
Yes, absolutely. So on one hand, you can think about silos or many different stakeholders with different scopes of work. And I think that this is very important to keep in mind as developing the product and the go-to-market, but really thinking, okay, when I'm gonna try to bring this product to the industry, who is it for? Is it for the mechanical, or is it for the interior finisher, or is it for the GC? Okay, it's for the mechanical. But even if it's for the mechanical contractor, who else does the mechanical contractor need on board? Is it going to be enough if just the mechanical contractor uses it, or is it more ideal if the whole MEP uses it, right? How early do they need to decide about it? So that they can start using it, right? Like that's one piece. And even when I'm thinking about all these different stakeholders, right, is it something that a project manager can decide to use, or is it something that the whole company needs to use, right? Because that also will make it very different. Who needs to make the decision, right? Is it something that you can prove on a small pilot, or is it something that you can only see the value as you go broader? And then what I also have shared earlier, right, it's more the buy-in at all the different levels, from the ones using the product on the day-to-day to the C-suite who expects to see an ROI.
So really interesting in terms of you're basically saying, right, it's not enough to build a good product, for that end client that you're looking at, but you need to also be thinking, what's kind of the unintended consequence or broader team that's going to be working with the product, right? And you want to see that it makes sense. It's going to be easy for them, as well as how are you kind of strategically approaching decision making? Are you going to be, is a product going to have a lot of bureaucracy? Is this a decision that needs to be made as an entire company, or does it fall under the capacity or responsibility of a project manager, or maybe someone else in the company that's going to be a very quick and fast decision? As well as kind of how long is it going to take to prove and validate, the value that you're bringing with the product?
Absolutely.
Right? Okay, really interesting. And so Hilti, we kind of spoke about this a little bit, but Hilti is one of the most iconic brands in the industry. How do you help your portfolio companies succeed? We already started addressing it, but.
Yeah, absolutely. So access to our teams, right, from technical experts to exited founders to sales experts, sharing expertise. Also exposure to our customers. We also find opportunities. We host a lot of events at our Fieldwire office in San Francisco. Also, we are going to be hosting an event very soon at our office in Paris in June. So we like giving also exposure to the overall community, construction community, and definitely also to our customers. And then also software companies can become part of our marketplace and integrate with all the different Hilti software products.
Okay, great. And what do you think the future of the construction industry is going to look like, and how will technology help shape that future?
So I would say that we are seeing increased adoption. So already in our daily life, we all are getting used to using AI and mobile devices. So this also helps with adoption on the job site. Because you get used to it, and then it's much easier to get to use certain products. And I'm already seeing this very much with some of the AI products. And so then also AI, very promising. And I see it very promising from two different aspects, right? Like there is one around like, how can AI be used on projects? And for example, here, I'm very excited to see what companies like DataGrid are doing. And then also on the other side, it's how can the startups use AI to accelerate product development? And then this opens new questions around, can we tackle new use cases that before were unthinkable? And can we develop more efficiently? What I'm trying to say with that is that there may be use cases in construction that maybe in the past we would say, oh, the need is not big enough, right? Like is the market big enough for how much it's gonna cost us to develop this? Well, can we do all that product development much faster, and which technologies we can utilize, and suddenly maybe we can start thinking and tackling new use cases, right? Like maybe also the new technologies are letting us also to tackle some of the new use cases. So definitely open eyes on that.
So let's get rid of the hype of what everyone's saying about AI. How instrumental or how disruptive is this actually for the industry from your perspective?
I mean, there is a piece that there are certain, like our industry, it's the built environment, right? So like it's something that is very tangible. And there are like things need to get built, right? Like you still need hardware. And I think that really the technology can help us with some of the hardware development, but I think that we also need to be realistic into what we can do today, right? And I think it is still very much robotics for a specific applications, but probably we can develop those solutions faster. We can go to market faster, right? So I mean, I see that there we can see a lot also in the robotics space accelerating there. Then also more on the collaboration side, definitely the fact that we can now, with the help of AI, use much more all the data available, also all unstructured data, I think this open up new opportunities. And the fact that then we can give access to many more people to all in the job site to all that data, but also the way they can interact with that data, it's a lot easier and easier to adopt. So, I mean, I definitely see the impact. And what I can say is that I see many construction companies that are curious about it and that they are testing and that they are trying to implement, right? And I think that also shows a point on where there is this shift for the industry, where they are not sitting back and waiting to see what is the best solution. They are saying, oh, this is gonna disrupt the industry and I wanna be right there. And even if these solutions today are only at 80 or 90%, I'm going to be working with these solutions and I'm going to be part of the first customers because I want to see this succeed and I want to succeed with it, right? So I definitely see a very clear commitment from the industry, from the customers that they want to see these solutions coming to the market.
Okay, really interesting. So we're gonna ask the last question, and you are involved in Women in Construction Tech. Please tell us about your involvement. What does the organization do, and what's the mission?
Yeah, so I'm one of the co-founders of Women in Construction Tech together with Julieta Moraday. And Women in Construction Tech is a community dedicated to creating opportunities and developing relationships for innovative women in construction. And the way we actually started, it was back in 2021, as Juliet and I were both getting into venture, got to meet, and then we say, oh, we don't really know too many women in the industry. And a friend of us sent an email for us to get in contact. And so 5 of us met at a coffee in San Francisco. And we were sitting at this big table for 10 people, and it was just 5 of us. And we say, we want to fill the table. We want to have a full table. So then we started more informally, getting a group to exchange ideas and to, like share deal flow and talk about some of the things in the industry. But also it was part about like how to build your own community, your own professional network. And so then I went to a conference and, we were talking, they were discussing ESG, but there were only 2 women out of 100 participants. So I went to the organizers and they said, well, yeah, help us. We want we want to see more diversity here. And so a few months later, we organized an event together with them. It was a pre-event to one of their conferences. We had more than 50 participants, and each panel at the conference had at least one woman on the panel, right? So we helped to make sure that there was more visibility and more exposure. And, we got fantastic feedback, and we said, okay, there is something here that people really want to have. So let's start doing more of this. So we hosted a few more events, and then fast forward, now we have local chapters around the world that they are also organizing events in their local communities. And also we are partnering with some of the bigger conferences to host these events. And then really the idea is how to build this network and generate more opportunities. And I think that the results also speak by themselves. Out from some of the events, we have had founders that said that 2 months later, they got investment from an investor they met at our events, also that generated some customer connections that they didn't have before. It also has helped some of the women as they were planning their career, negotiating their next position. So that's really where I think shows the value of the community we are creating.
Incredible. Keep doing the amazing work you're doing. Thank you for joining the podcast. It was a pleasure.
Thank you for having me.
Hey, if you're a regular listener or just as passionate about construction technology as I am, take a moment and hit that subscribe button. It's the best way to support us. It lets a platform know that our content matters, and growing the show keeps us motivated to bring our very best to every single episode.